Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. Looking for a movie that celebrates the gift of life? Get ready for LifeMark, the new movie from the Kendrick brothers and Kirk Cameron, opening in theaters everywhere September 9th. In LifeMark, David's uncomfortable world is turned upside down when his birth mother unexpectedly reaches out to him, longing to meet the 18-year-old son she's only held once. With the encouragement of his adopted parents, David embarks on a life-altering journey of discovery that leads to a staggering truth from his past. Inspired by a true story, LifeMark is a powerful reminder that one decision, one choice, can impact so much more than one life. LifeMark is pro-family, pro-love, pro-forgiveness, pro-reconciliation, and pro-new beginnings. So if you are too, make your plans to see LifeMark. See LifeMark in theaters nationwide beginning September 9th. So to learn more about LifeMark and get your tickets today at lifemarkmovie.com. That's lifemarkmovie.com.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and of course, the mainstream media would like you distracted on everything else related to President Trump and all of the issues that, of course, we do need to talk about because he has a right to be protected under all of his constitutionally protected rights. And of course, we're bringing you the latest there. But what the left doesn't want to talk about is this absurd overreach of the Inflation Reduction Act. And of course, the truth of the matter is that even though it's titled that, it's nothing of the sort. And so the free state of Florida and all of our great friends in the Governor DeSantis administration there have a proposal to push back and actually for legislative changes. So joining me now is Jimmy Patronis, who is the Chief Financial Officer of the free state of Florida. So Jimmy, what is your plan to fight against this? And thank you for all of the work that you're doing.
Well, and likewise, Jenna, I'm a huge fan and thank you for what you do. Look, we are sick and tired of this overreach by the federal government, and I really wish Joe Biden would just stayed on vacation. But this Inflation Reduction Act was a totally oxymoron. It's about like the Affordable Care Act. It did nothing for making healthcare more affordable, and the Inflation Reduction Act does nothing but create a supercharged expansion of the IRS just to subsidize electric cars. So as I've looked at what's taking place, I'm sick and tired of what I've seen. 87,000 new IRS agents, boots on the ground. And in contrast, our Border Patrol only has 20,000 agents that secure our borders in the United States. So we said, look, we're going to protect the state of Florida to the best of our abilities. So the four-prong approach that we're going to approach the legislature with is one, we're going to ask all of our state chartered banks, the banks that we license, to report any engagement by the IRS. Number two, we're going to create a series of criminal charges that, look, with 87,000, even if 1% had a political agenda, which is a small number, that's 870 agents that could have a political agenda. It's just the rule in numbers. People get emotional, they get compromised, they take their decisions into their own hands. If they cross the line, we're going to arrest them. We're going to also create a licensure procedure. There's maybe an interest to create ethics within the licensure of these men and women of the IRS. And then lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to create a fund. And if you or your small business are targeted because of politically motivated investigations, we're going to create a defense fund for you either to defend yourself or sue the IRS if necessary.
That all sounds really awesome. And of course, the American people and small businesses are very concerned that this is just a weaponizing of the IRS, which that seems that it's very clear that that's what Congress intended. And then yet they gave themselves immunity from being audited. I mean, this is just so absurd that they're able to come after American citizens. And what do you think about what Congress has stated that this is for, and giving a bigger budget to the IRS than the Pentagon? I mean, this just doesn't seem like it is anything at all what they claim that it is. So, what do you think is the real motive behind this?
So, it's unfortunate, but I've spent enough time in politics now that nothing happens by accident. I truly think, I think Nancy Pelosi is going to lose her speakership in November. I think Chuck Schumer is going to lose his majority leadership. So they are trying to pass whatever boondoggle, goodie bag, bag full of turkeys legislation before they lose power, before they can stop affecting the agenda. So they went out and they bought out Joe Manchin, they bought out Sinema to pass this horrible piece of legislation. And they had to do, because look, November is here. Before we know it, primaries are this week. So they're getting out of town. They're not coming back to Washington. So it's just so coincidental that they decided to run this bag of hot garbage through Congress at the exact same time that they decided to do the raid on President Trump's residence. So don't tell me that, there's only so much space in the news day. We're going to try to create as much smoke and mirrors and distraction so we can, kind of, discourage people to talk about the craziness in Washington. Let's talk about the investigation with President Trump so the constituents don't call Washington with outrage to how horrible this legislative package was. Between two pieces of legislation, between the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act, that's $1 trillion in new spending, and Washington does not care about the debt they're saddling with our grandchildren and our children.
Yeah, and it seems like with all of the outflow of COVID and all of the difficulties that the American people have suffered because of the ridiculous overbroad reach of the COVID mandates from this administration and the attacks against small businesses, and now they're sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine, and now they're weaponizing the IRS to come after the citizens who can't afford to protect themselves. What would be the terms and the parameters of this defense fund? Because out of everything that you've articulated, that to me was a brilliant idea. I mean, all of these things are, of course, important to help protect all of these small businesses in Florida. And I applaud the DeSantis administration for everything that you're doing to make sure that the federal government doesn't overreach into the sovereignty of states. We need to get back to state sovereignty. But especially a defense fund, what are the parameters for small businesses if this does pass? And, according to state law, what would that actually look like for people who are potentially targets or victims of federal overreach through this Inflation Reduction Act and these IRS agents?
Sure. So the big concern was, as they were going to spend $80 billion in expanding the IRS in order to collect $200 billion. Even the CBO said there's no way you could do this unless you pierced that sub $200,000 annual income of a small business or individual or family. They kept on saying they're not going to touch anything, under $400,000. Even by the own CBO, they can't do it. So our concern is that's a broad net that is going to be cast in the state of Florida. The state of Florida last year, we collected from out-of-state movement $24 billion in new annual income. In contrast, California lost $18 billion. So all this new money is coming. Our concern is IRS is going to go fishing where the money is. So as they target the state of Florida, we're going to work with the legislature saying, all right, let's create some parameters of who is going to be eligible for these dollars. You know what? If look, I want to make sure that everybody's eligible, but if you've got the ability to defend yourself, you know what? Then there probably a means test where you may not necessarily get as much support, but you still have the full backing of the criminal charges, the investigation, those strengths to help you in your case if you have to pursue litigation against our own IRS. If you below that certain threshold where it's going to put you under financial duress, then you will be a candidate that'll be eligible for that fund as the legislature would have to fund it and create it. But we're definitely excited. I've already got members of the legislature reaching out. Jimmy, can I run the legislation? So anyway, super pumped about the excitement of our own legislature about these 4 issues.
Yeah, and that's a great point that it seems like the IRS will come and target Florida specifically because you had such a momentum of a lot of these businesses that are leaving California, that are leaving New York, and they're coming in to Florida because you're actually, guess what, protecting your citizens. That seems like a great idea, right, that
Right.
everybody wants to be a part of. And there's no state income tax. And yet, Governor DeSantis, who I got to see him finally for the first time out in Pennsylvania for that great rally this week with Senator Mastriano, who's running for governor, was really excited to see your governor come and support and help him there. And, he was talking about all of this and how the state of Florida has managed not only to actually get their business done and do the work of government, but also do that without any state income tax and without all of the things
Right.
that are oppressive, really, against individual citizens, against small business owners. And so, talk a little bit more about what Florida is doing as a business model, because I think a lot
Mhm.
of Republican governors are looking now at Florida as kind of being the ideal, and what you're doing is obviously very successful.
Well, one, it helps when you've got a governor who's willing to take shots and lead. It's not easy. It's not easy being the tip of the spear, but Governor DeSantis has shown he enjoys leading. But I did 8 years in the legislature, and one thing that's unique to Florida, it's not the case of every state. We still have a citizen legislature. Our members of the legislature, they get paid, but they don't get paid a salary that's a full-time living wage. Because the whole goal is you come to Tallahassee once a year, not a year-round legislature, and you have a full-time job back in your district. So you're listening to the struggles and the pains and the frustrations of your citizens. So when you go to Tallahassee, you are hearing that loud and clear. Now, Governor DeSantis has also 2 things that he's done that I'm very proud of. Last year and this year, between those 2 years, he's vetoed over $4 billion out of the state's proposed budget. Those are historic numbers. Nothing like that's ever been touched before. And he has shown not only to Washington, but he showed the citizens of the state of Florida, we're going to live within our means. And oh, by the way, he's also told the legislature loud and clear as vetoing those amounts of dollars are huge. It says, guys, don't be wasteful with the taxpayers' money. So all that really helps. We're going to have historic reserves this year of excess of $23 billion. In contrast, last year we had about $6 billion of reserves. So things are good in Florida, but it starts from the top, and do appreciate the leadership of our governor.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So, what would your advice be to other states who are similarly looking at protecting their citizens and pushing back specifically against these IRS agents? And hopefully, Congress, if we get a Republican majority after the midterms, will just simply repeal that, will defund that. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the show last week, and she was saying, first item of business needs to just be to defund this and get them back into the, little place that they were. But, Congress, we can't rely on all the time, and we do need
No.
to look at states' rights, state sovereignty, and getting our state and local leaders to doing exactly what you're doing in Florida. So, what's your advice for other states to kind of try to follow in this model, specifically against
Sure.
the IRS?
Sure. So one, what you're doing right now, Jenna, if you don't hear it enough, I think you need to make sure you hear it from me. Thank you for what you're doing to turn up the volume on this issue, because exactly what we're doing right now, there's going to be other legislators, there's going to be other state treasurers that are going to listen to what you're asking and want to know how they can catch lightning in a bottle. This is an issue that I think the Democrats are embarrassed of. They don't realize they voted for this hot garbage onto Biden's desk. And then ultimately, now they're figuring a way how to get away from it. And yeah, you're right. I think that we will have a Republican Congress in November that hopefully will repeal it, but we can't count on them. How many years did they supposedly work that they were going to repeal the Affordable Care Act? When they had a majority, they couldn't pull off. And when they had a Republican governor, they all lost the nerve in order to do the right thing. So again, Congress can't be trusted. So this is why state rights are so important. This is why we're going to push back. And look, I hope other states, I hope they not only emulate what the state of Florida is attempting to do, I hope they come up with better ideas than what we're coming up with. This is why we have a representative form of government. This is why we should listen to our constituents, and why this is why elections matter. This November, you're going to have an opportunity to hold your electeds accountable. And if you don't hold them accountable, you get the government you deserve. That's why we got the hot mess in Washington we have right now.
Absolutely. And this is why, as much frustration as we saw from conservatives and just genuine Americans in the aftermath of the 2020 election, the worst possible solution is people saying, well, I'm just going to stay home and not vote. Then you're just handing them
Yeah,
the win
yeah.
and you're not even trying. I mean, we have to make sure we are turning out the vote for every America First candidate, for every person. I've been so excited to see how many people who have just been those regular citizens, like you talked about in the Florida legislature, who have the full-time jobs, who have the families, who have small businesses, who are stepping up and saying, I want to be participants in our American system of government, because they're seeing how necessary that is. As if 2020 taught us anything from COVID to the election and everything in between, it's how much we, the citizens, need to be engaged and involved. And so for the citizens who are really concerned about the IRS and everything that the Biden administration is telling them they're going to have to cooperate with, and all of the compulsory mandates and edicts from the petty tyrants in Washington, what's your advice to the average citizen in Florida or anywhere in America who's really concerned about what their options are in dealing with this new weaponized IRS?
So I think the first question you should be asking of anybody who is asking you for your vote is, are you willing to repeal this debacle of a mess that was passed by a Congress that went down party lines with no Republican support? I think that should be a litmus test for any candidate running for federal office. There's a number of members of the House of Representatives and number of the Senate. And look, you may not have that one-on-one FaceTime that you'd like to have with them, but if you get one chance, one question, ask them. And you know what? I'd encourage you to do? If you can ask them with your phone on, record it. Go put it on your own social media. Hold them accountable. I looked at our own state laws, and in the state of Florida, we have sunshine laws. That means anybody can ask basically anything of me, and I have to produce it. Washington doesn't have that. In the state of Florida, there's so many ethics, gift bans, other laws that we have to abide by, and in Washington, they don't. To your own point, Congress carved themselves out of this audit process. So again, I think a lot more Florida and Washington would make a hell of a lot of difference for what the citizens of our country deserve.
Well, they call you the Sunshine State for a reason. So, that's I guess for your laws as well. And, those types of transparency, that's absolutely true. And for people in other states, you can go to your legislature, ask them to pass those same types of laws. If your state doesn't have sunshine laws, or they don't have as much transparency as you'd like to see, those are things that can be changed and amended. And, the average citizen doesn't really know that you can participate in hearings and testimony. You can go and lobby your legislators to create this type of legislation that really does protect you. And a lot of bills, they start with an idea from a regular citizen. And so, getting back though to the one piece about the IRS specifically, a lot of average citizens are very concerned about what their rights are. And so, do they have any rights when an IRS agent knocks at the door, gives them the phone call and says, hey, you have to produce all of this stuff and we're going to audit you. Obviously, my advice as an attorney is seek out an attorney. Make sure you get a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's obviously, expensive, and that can be with, not as viable of an option for some people. But what would you suggest for people who are concerned along those parameters?
But Jenna, isn't that sad that one option that we're going to tell somebody when the IRS knocks on the door is to find an attorney? That should not be the solution when our own government that works for us is deciding to look and making sure we've paid enough of our own taxes. So this is what's got me concerned. This is why I say, maybe we need to have to what we said earlier, ethics with our agents, greater transparency with our agents, greater training with our agents. Because you know what? I want to make sure if somebody is coming into the state of Florida to investigate our citizens, they treat them with respect, they treat them with a fair process, and they're fully transparent of what their motives are. I don't want anybody having any type of political agenda. And, and at least if in the state of Florida we can accomplish that, at least we're giving our citizens a fair shake with dealing with their government. Because having to go hiring an accountant or hiring an attorney because you have a small business that grosses $200,000 a year and you're about to be audited, that's a sad state of affairs. And again, this is because Washington has a spending problem. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. And those guys in Congress, they're like a bunch of kids with mom and dad's credit card. They won't stop using it.
Yeah, so well said. And, in just the last few minutes I have with you, Jimmy Patronis, really appreciate your time here and love all the work that you're doing in Florida. As the midterms are coming up, Governor DeSantis is running for re-election, and we really hope, and I fully support him in that endeavor and hope that he wins by a landslide with all of the new votes that are coming into Florida and everybody who's championing him. What can we expect from a second term of the DeSantis administration? Anything that you can kind of preview for us on protecting freedom and liberty there in the Sunshine State?
Yep. So we just wrapped up cabinet, and so one of the agenda items that we're rolling out is attacking ESG head on. It's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to the governor. Woke corporations dictating, costing the citizens of the state of Florida more money and insurance. Specifically, this is where I get really concerned, is because woke corporations are infiltrating the insurance industry, which ultimately ends up costing the citizens of the state of Florida more. So it's like an ESG fee that is being tacked on to insurance policies in the state of Florida. So the governor's definitely laser focused on that. Again, his fiscal discipline, as we've seen his last four budgets that he's handled, he has been very aggressive with the veto pen. And you know what? That will change the culture of the legislature's budget priority. So I'm excited being the fiscal guy for the state of Florida. I like having lots of money in the bank, and I like to be very conservative with what we've got. And as long as I've got a wingman like Governor DeSantis steering our ship, the state of Florida looks forward to another prosperous 4 years with Governor DeSantis.
Yeah, that's excellent. And, ESG is one of those things for all the listeners. If you haven't been focused on that, Dr. James Lindsay, one of my really good friends, talks about that and how really it's just a political score for businesses. It has nothing to do with anything else other than pure politics. And it's how woke are you, basically. And so he has a lot of really good materials on that. And, I know he's looking at a bunch of legislative options for different states in order to combat that. So I really appreciate that that's a focus in Florida. And so Jimmy Patronis, Chief Financial Officer of the great state of Florida, really appreciate it. How can people find you and your work, not only on social media, but also if they want to get involved there in Florida in the government and in lobbying and understanding all the great things you're doing?
Sure. So my office is real easy to find. I'm in Tallahassee at the Florida Capitol. Governor DeSantis is one end of the hallway. I'm at the other. And I've always got a good cup of coffee ready for anybody that wants to walk in the door. I'm real easy to find. You can follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Patronis. I'm at Instagram at JPatronis, Facebook at Jimmy Patronis. And if all else fails, you can always just email me at jimmy@joinjimmy.com. I like to be accessible. I grew up in the restaurant business for 30 years of my life. So taking care of the customer is something that I'm hardwired to do. And in the state of Florida, we definitely understand hospitality. But Jenna, you're a breath of fresh air. You're a champion for freedom. And thank you for holding, our electeds accountable, me included.
Thank you so much. And you had me at coffee, so next time I'm in Tallahassee, I'll come and say hello, and would love to see you there in person. And really appreciate that so much. That means a lot to me coming from you. And keep up the great work. And look forward to having you on soon to talk about all of the great advancements and achievements for liberty and freedom in Florida. So thank you so much.
God bless.
Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And when and we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. MyPillow is having their biggest sheet sale of the year. You all have helped build MyPillow into the amazing company that it is today. Now, Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO, wants to give back exclusively to you, his listeners. The Percale bed sheet set is available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are all on sale. So, for example, the queen size is regularly priced at $89.98, but is now only $39.98 with our listener promo code Jenna, Jenna. So order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The Percale bed sheets are breathable and have a cool and crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so don't miss out on this incredible offer. There's a limited supply, so be sure to order now. You can call 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna, or go to mypillow.com/Jenna. You can click on the radio listeners square and use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna. Thank you so much to all of Mike Lindell's listeners and listeners of this podcast for making sure to support MyPillow and using our exclusive listener promo code Jenna. That's Jenna.